So welcome back to part 3 of my celestial spectacular saga of Jacob and Mark Iskander's 1-year anniversary, which was yesterday, September 29th. And so we left off the night before, which was September 28th, Tuesday night, and I was going to bed and I was really anxious about what was going to happen the next day because, as I mentioned, I was worried that I was going somewhere that I didn't belong, and I was worried how my vision of creating colorful, happy things at the memorial site, how that might be looked upon as invasive, and it would draw attention to me, and I felt like such an outsider anyway, and I wanted to be respectful, but I also felt that I was being guided to do something dramatic behind the scenes. So anyways, the night before, when I went to bed, I was just worried about how the day was going to go, and I knew that the next morning I was going to be opening a portal. I was going to be cracking my blue crystal ball. And once you do that, it's just, Katie bar the door. You don't know what's going to happen, and you don't know what price you're going to be called upon to pay. And so in just so many different aspects had me like, oh my gosh, I just can't wait for it all to be over, and hopefully I'll survive it, and everything will have gone well. But you just don't know. And then plus there's the very real aspect that I was walking into, a very emotional well of depth that I couldn't have, I wanted to open, as wide as I could, so that I could experience and learn, and also be available to give back however it was that, I was guided to do that. So I didn't know what the day was going to hold, and all I knew was I was having trouble sleeping. And finally, when I did fall asleep, I dreamt, and it was a unique dream, and I don't remember the details, but there was the most important thing stood out to me. And there was an image in the dark, in the dream. There was this image, and it was more like a shape. And the shape was composed of teeny tiny little pieces of light, and they were all different colors. And it wasn't like one solid mass. It was like there was, darkness in between the lights. And when I woke up, intermittently throughout the night, and I remembered it, it was a good sign, because what it said to me was, first, it felt like, because I have many, as I said, many different types of spirit guides that are moving me forward in my quest for interdimensional travel. And an alien guide actually came forward in the beginning of the year, which, as I'd mentioned, is the driving force behind my infinity chamber, which I'm in right now. And so I've never seen it. I just have this very strong sense that it's that. And so in the dream, that felt like it was that energy, my teacher, my guide, showing me a little bit more of what they are. And so, when I was going back to sleep throughout the night, waking up and going back to sleep, I kept coming back to that image of the shape that had all these different colors of light. And that was, I was like, okay, but you can breathe a little bit easier because of that. And so when I woke up in the morning and it was early and I knew I had, preparation, getting everything together, besides, the ultimate cracking the portal, I had to get the jars of water, ready to go, the colored jars of water and, the flowers and, what I was going to pack. And one of the things that I learned from the movie Funny Lady was you don't need to overproduce. Because initially when I was starting to think about, what can I create, that will not only be visually beautiful, but that it will be a sign, the mom Nancy or the dad Kareem, that they'll be like, oh my gosh, look, there's 11 jars of water. And it was just like, oh no, that's just so many. I'm really gonna create a obvious, big flashing neon light on myself if I do that. And I'm like, no, you don't have to do 11. So I ultimately settled on 5. And the jars, I had a blue one, red one, orange one, yellow one, and a green one. And so I knew that I was going to create that when I got there. So I was just going to bring, the water with me, and I was going to bring the jars and the flowers and, the crystal ball. And when I was thinking about what I didn't know what this situation was going to look like once I got there, because I had never been there. And I wanted something sturdy to hold the crystal ball. And so ultimately I settled on a glass jar. And so it was really just because I have a base for it, but it's a small base, and I wanted something that would be substantial. And also something I could put a light inside the glass jar so that it would illuminate the cracked crystal ball. And initially I was going to have a little string of battery operated stars, and just put them inside the jar. And I thought, that would be a celestial kind of image. And yesterday morning I switched gears and decided on a battery votive light, which ultimately I thought would create a wonderment kind of illumination. And I've got these, I love the changing light colors. Can you see this? I'm not sure if you can see this. Or if it seems as though the light might be a little bit bright. So it changes colors. It's one of those where it goes from blue to green to purple and red, slowly moves. Anyways, I'll put that there in case you can see it. And so when I went to crack the crystal ball, and this is a bigger one, a larger one, so I've never done it before. There's no directions. I just sort of do what feels right. And so the way that you do it is you heat it up in the oven, and then you put it in ice. Obviously I have to be very careful, oven mitt and whatnot. But so when I did that, it just, when I put it in the ice, it just was like fireworks going off inside that ice. And sucking sort of sound, so I wasn't sure exactly what had happened. I was nervous because I thought, oh gosh, did I overdo it? Did I heat it, make it too hot? Was it too severe? And ultimately what wound up happening, which was a little piece of it broke off. And there was a part of me that was just a surface level piece, nothing substantial. And so ultimately the crystal ball is still very much intact, but the cracks were so beautiful. And when light shines through that, I mean, you don't even have to have light shining through it. Just to look at it you just feel like you're in this, you feel like you're in a galaxy, with all these different tunnels, and it just is so captivating and fascinating. But as I said, there's something that actually happens, more than just the, looking at it and being enchanted by that. There's something that you open a portal, and so your intention, is met. But then, as I said, that you have to pay a price in order to do that, which you don't know what the price is. So anyways, I was delighted to see that it was still very much intact, and there was I thought maybe, water had gotten into it, and it didn't look like there was anything like that. So, there was a part of me that was like, oh, it would have been nice if it had been all stayed, one piece. But, I have come to allow, what happens is supposed to happen. And so, it may not be what my ideal is, but there's something bigger. Obviously going to this Angelversary, it was something that I was, prompted to do because there was something very important. There was a reason I was supposed to be there, which I didn't know what it was. As I said, you just get the next step. It's like an as need basis. Just sort of keep moving the story forward. And so when I got there, I could already, when I was getting on the 101 to, drive to Westlake, I just headed in that direction. I just thought I was going to start crying already, because I wanted obviously to immerse myself as much in the reality of that situation as I was supposed to. And so I wanted to be open. And when I finally got there, I was a little nervous because, this is at their school. It's a Ascension Lutheran school. And there's signs saying, the campus is closed, to visitors, while school is in session. And there was a part of me that was like, oh gosh, the post said that you could come, throughout the day and, leave flowers or just be there. And so I thought, I'm just going to do it, So I did. I went and parked, and, I didn't know where people are going to, come up to me. What are you doing here? And, and so I thought, I'm just going to keep going forward, just keep doing, allowing. I'll just keep allowing, just keep, I'll trusting, And so I got there and I parked, and before I got all my stuff, I thought, well, let's just see what it looks like and where I'm supposed to be going, and all that. And so I went to I found where the little memorial area was, and I saw that it's just a teeny tiny little courtyard, and there was just like a little wall that had some names, memorial plaques on it, and there was a big oak tree that was like right in the middle of this little small space, courtyard space. But the tree that I was intending to hang my little jars of colored water with the flowers inside on the branches were just much too high. And so I was like, okay, can't do that. But there was a wall that had the little memorial plaques, and that was where Mark and Jacob's, there was a picture of them there with a couple tall candles, and contained candles, and above it was like saying that their memorial plaque was going to be here, and there was already some vases with looked like some flowers inside there. And so I got there around noon, and I guess I wasn't sure what to expect. There was a part of me that thought, with as much attention as it was getting on Nextdoor, I thought it was going to resemble what this space looked like where the car accident actually happened a year ago. And it was just, like I said, it's like a Michael Jackson thing, just flowers everywhere and teddy bears and just tons of stuff. And so when I got there at noon, I was surprised that there wasn't very much stuff there. Everything happens the way it's supposed to happen. I'm not judging by any means, because the way that this all unfolds is part of why this story, why I was supposed to be there, why this story unfolds the way it's supposed to unfold. And so before I got to their little memorial garden area, there were a couple of easels with poster boards, one for Mark and one for Jacob, that had different pictures on each one. But I didn't see it initially because they both had fallen over, and I didn't, face down, so I didn't even know what it was. They just looked like white poster boards. And so I ultimately found the memorial garden, which was just around, just a teeny tiny bit around the bend. And so I, assessed the situation, and then I went back to the car. First, before I went back to the car, I, put the poster boards back up, and went back to the car and got all my stuff. And there wasn't, really anybody around, because school was in session, and you could hear the kids, in the background, and it's a gated area, where the kids are, and I guess where their school is. And anyways, so I got all my stuff, and I went back, and I noticed, the poster boards had fallen down again, and so I put them back up, and I proceeded to, okay, well, how am I going to do this with the jars? And so I created each one. I poured the water in each, different jar, and had my little food coloring, and, created all a little rainbow of colors. And then I thought, well, I'll just put it on the wall, because the wall, I guess, came, maybe it was about, I don't know, maybe about 4.5 feet high, just a thin, wall. And which was the backdrop. And so I thought, okay, well, that works out just fine. So above the area where their picture was down below, I created a, kind of a little rainbow, with the flowers and wildflowers, pretty little periwinkle wildflowers. And then I put my crystal ball right next to their picture. And what I had done was, when I was walking one time in Topanga here in the canyon, just, I guess, a few weeks ago or whatnot, I found a book, and it was called Magical Child. And it was a nonfiction book. And so I guess it's basically about, how to raise magical children, or how to recognize, magical children and whatnot. And there was a part of me that thought, you know what? I didn't have guidance when I was raising my kids. First of all, I didn't even really understand what magic was then. I do now, but I didn't then. And so I thought maybe my daughter would like this someday when she's ready to have children. So yesterday morning, when I was thinking about what I read about Mark, the older child, and how he was very much tapped into signs, and there was almost a part of him that seemed to know something was coming. He's in the confidence that he had, from the videos I watched where he was entertaining. It's almost like he was living a full life in those 11 years, making his imprint, I was so impressed. You can't not be, it's like, wow, this kid has got the courage that you don't even find in adults, There's something different about him. There's something unique. And I imagine he probably was a very magical child. And so I thought, even though this book it's a used book, it's not pristine, the pages are, dog-eared and writing in it and, underlining and whatnot. I felt like she would, his mom, Nancy, I felt like it would resonate with her. And so I decided to have that underneath the crystal ball, and I, put a little ribbon around it. And then before I was leaving the yurt, I noticed on the front cover there was, it said, the foreword was by some author who had written, so this is the name of the book that he wrote, A Crack in the Cosmic Egg. That was what I was having. That was going to be underneath the cracked crystal ball, which was the cosmic portal that I had opened. A crack in the cosmic egg. Another sign, Another like, oh my God, yay. It's like when these overlaps. Signs for me are not just, it's not just one-offs, it's like they connect. They connect the story, it's like that you start to see the purpose of all these different things that you're being guided to include. And so there was a sense of, okay, exhale, from that. Okay, thank you, It's, they're not going to find this to be entirely strange, hopefully. And so I, put my stuff there, and sat down and, got a sense of it all. But I knew I was going to be there for, I thought I was going to be there for, 7 hours or so, because I really wanted to be a part of the situation, in the behind the scenes. But then, before I left the yurt, I didn't know what the dramatic event, I didn't know what the price was going to be that I was going to have to pay. And so there was a part of me that was sort of like trying to think about, well, I wonder what it could be. And since I knew that there was going to be a service at 6, I thought, oh my gosh, what if they ask if people want to get up and say something, you know? And I thought, oh my gosh, I guess if they do that, then I'm gonna have to say something. I'll have to get up there and, tell my story a little bit. And that there was a bit of a fear in that, because obviously it's like, the big shining the spotlight on the intruder. Who is she? What a weirdo, But I thought, well, gosh, if that's what, I'll do it. I'll do it. Anyways, so as the day was unfolding, what I recognized was my job, my purpose, or so I thought, was I was supposed to be the caretaker of that little memorial area for them. And I went inside to the church, and I wasn't, I didn't really feel like that was for me. And, I really enjoyed being outside and, in the fresh air and, the nature, and just being outside and just being flowing, just, feeling the vibe, hearing the kids, in the background was really nice. And so I sort of got to work, I thought, gosh, I'm here, I might as well be useful. And so, I constructed a way for those 2 poster boards to be secure, because it was a windy day. Not overly windy, but enough that, they needed an anchor. And so I, with what the resources that I had, I just made it obvious that this is, and secured the little signs that, said the memorial and arrows and whatnot. I just made it look, and I made it look nice as I could, and then I also wanted it to last, to be sustainable. And then I noticed, that there wasn't really that much water in the vases that were there, and it seemed like somebody must have had bought cut flowers and then just sort of, put them in. Maybe it was the office, I don't know who it was. But so I thought, you know what, I'm gonna take care of this little area. And there was, a few people that, came in and left flowers and, wrote little notes and things. And I noticed that they just sort of put their flowers, leaning them against the wall, just sort of down the wall. And there's 2 bouquets of flowers that were just sort of leaning against the wall, without water or anything. And so what I did was I remembered when I was doing my research that I guess right after the accident, when there was just, the scene of the accident, just so much, stuff, outpouring of gifts and flowers and stuff. And there was a quote saying that, Nancy, the mom, she just wanted it to look nice. And so I thought, you know what? I want this to look nice for her, There didn't seem to be anybody in charge of it. And so I decided, people can change what I'm doing, of course, if somebody decides, they don't like what I'm doing. But I thought, nobody's doing it, I'm going to do it. And so I did. I put the flowers together, and I sort of, arranged them, so that it flowed, and I brought the flowers close, all like right in that area around their picture, and the tall candles, and obviously my crystal ball, and like the rainbow jars above. So I brought it all into, instead of like haphazard things just spread, I brought it all in. And it's almost like concentrating the focus, concentrating on the energy, And I was really pleased with the fact that I felt useful. And this, I thought, oh, this is maybe why you're here, And so while I was there, I was sort of going back and forth, from the car to the memorial garden, and just sort of walking around a little bit. And gosh, I guess this was maybe about 2 hours in, and I was over on the other side of the campus, and I noticed when I was going to my car, and I looked down at the pavement of the parking lot, and I noticed looked like maybe a maple leaf, a pretty fall maple leaf. Yeah, I mean, I'm from the Midwest. I've been here in California in Topanga for 4 years. And you miss it. You miss the changing seasons. You don't really feel you don't really get to see the changing seasons. And my daughter was just, her and her boyfriend were camping in Woodstock, New York. And she sent me videos, and to see, the leaves and all their majesty, there's something so alive. Something alive while the tree is shedding, It's almost like a swan song, I know you're not going to be looking at me for, a few months there when everything's so frozen and cold, but, now I'm going to give you a show. And I remember feeling sort of like nostalgic, over the weekend, thinking, gosh, I do miss that. And so when I looked down and I saw this pretty red and yellow leaf, and I was like, oh my gosh, I get a little, that's unusual. I guess it was a maple tree. They're usually the most showy. And it's hard to find trees like that around here where I am. And so I thought, oh, this is something for me to bring back. And then as I was looking around, I noticed there were more. And so I got a little bag out of my car, a little, gift bag, yay high. And I just started collecting them off of the parking lot floor, Initially, it didn't catch my attention because they were sort of like, here and there, and it wasn't like all of a sudden it was just like boom. It was just sort of like, they were spread out. And I was on this like hunt, this Easter egg hunt. And I just started finding all these pretty red and yellow leaves. Art, such beauty, such splendor. And I realized what I wanted to do with it, And so I collected a whole bag full of red and yellow leaves. And there was a knowingness, that those leaves they wanted to be a part of the memorial garden. They wanted to be a part of Mark and Jacob's presentation, you know? And it also gave me that kind of understanding, you know, when you have like however many leaves that there were, you know, you have one here and one there and one there and one there and one there, and however many you have, you know, 100 or whatever. And when you have 100 individual leaves just alone on their own space, you know, just sad and, you know, disconnected and detached, it's almost like you can't see them. They don't really make a statement. They don't really create a feeling. But when you bring them all together, it's a showstopper. And I thought, that's like we are, you know? When you've got one, a whole bunch of ones all over the place, just, you know, alone. It's hard to really make a splash, but when you unite, you know, something majestic can happen. And also, you know, I'm one of these people that when I get flowers, you know, I enjoy them. And then, you know, whenever, especially if they're roses and they get, you know, dark and dry and whatnot, I find that if you turn them upside down, if you pop them off the stem and you turn them upside down and you uncover like inside, it's fresh. It's like fresh. So if you have like, the roses are normally like this, right? And so they look like they're all dried and dark and whatnot. But if you pop them off and the base, and you stick your thumbs in there and you know, spread them, it's like velvet. And all the colors right back there, right back. And so what I do is, for those dried up roses, is I baptize my car, you know? I like bless my car, you know? I beautify my car, the roof of my car, you know? I throw them, you know, toss them, sprinkle them, and they fall down. And then, you know, these pretty rose petals are all over my car, you know, because my car has really lasted a long while, and I'm grateful for it. And I always want to make sure that I'm just loving and sending it energy, because I'd be in trouble without it. Anyways, so I brought all these leaves because it was like they were on the other side of the part, you know, on the other side of the campus. They needed to come there, and they needed somebody to bring them there, you know. So it was sort of like the same thing as the roses. It's like a second chance for these fall leaves, you know, to beautify. And if you're talking about, golly, you know, to beautify the 1-year anniversary of these two precious boys, that, you know, I can't imagine this, whatever maple tree, I can't imagine it would have been happier. You know, it's not like it can get up and, you know, walk over to then just drop its leaves there. And so what I did was I brought, you know, my little bag filled with leaves, beautiful leaves, only the prettiest ones, you know, the most showy ones, which was pretty much all of them, you know, unless they were brown, you know, because everyone is unique. And anyways, so what I did was, because I wanted, without, you know, I didn't leave a card, I didn't leave a note, I didn't leave my name anywhere, but there was a part of me that wanted to connect. I wanted people to know. I wanted people to be able to follow the signs and say, this was purposeful. This is magic. I mean, it's not like, like that, but it's the magic that you can't see. It's that wondrous kind of magic that when you allow, this invisible kind of intelligent consciousness to create through you, that is magic. And as you will come to find, it's not just when you have the support, when your intentions have the support of the energy that is holding us all, manifestation, it happens faster and faster and faster. Sometimes it's just like, pew, which is what people have come to believe magic is. Anyways, so what I did was I took those leaves and I outlined the crystal ball and the magic child book all around it. And then I put some magic leaves under each one of my colored water jars to connect the two. And I was just like in this space where their picture was. It, from top to bottom was just, it became not only pretty, and made you feel good, but it held your focus, because how it was earlier, before I was inspired to bring it all together and add to it the way that I did. It was, haphazard, and it felt cold and lonely and without a loving cohesiveness. And that was to be my job. It's like the universe knows, when something is important. They make sure that they send the message to whoever it is that is supposed to receive it. And it was supposed to be me. It was supposed to be me. Now, this is not the end of the story. Not by any means. Oh my gosh, 43 minutes. Okay, I need to stop it here because I don't want these to be over 30 minutes and now here. Okay, so the next one will be part 4, which will be the last bit. Okay, so part 4 coming up. Stay tuned.